say your mission.
Okay, so
And
you're gonna say that, and then you jump into the question.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty.
Yeah, I'll talk about you a little bit. And then,
Alrighty. I'll start from here then.
Okay, your phone's off.
no.
My phone's
Oh, yeah,
being
it's
charged.
been off. That's why I ain't been hearing it. I just thought about that.
Look,
Good evening, and welcome to Cosmo Connect, Business Building Business, brought to you by the Cosmopolitan Chamber of Commerce. I'm your host this Tuesday evening, Carol Bell. Thank you for joining us again. And like I always like to lead off with the show by saying, you should watch us every week because we have wonderful guests with tremendous information to help you in your business. Tonight is no different than any other show. We have a great guest. We're glad to have him on. But before we get started, I'll do a little housekeeping. The Cosmopolitan Chamber of Commerce is hosting a training session for QuickBooks and Business Development, June 18th and June 19th. These classes last for 6 weeks. So again, the classes are QuickBooks training and business development. The classes will fill up on a first-come, first-served base. And to find out more information, contact the Cosmopolitan Chamber's office at 312-499-0611. Let me say a little bit about these training. If you are a business owner, obviously you have financials within your business to make sure that you know what you're selling your product for, how much you're making on your product, how much it's costing you to produce your product, how much you're paying in your payroll, how much you're expending just for operating supplies and services. You need to have a system like QuickBooks. QuickBooks is an online financial application. I've used it for many years. I don't currently use it, but I have used it for many years. And it is a financial module that has quite a few different segments to it that you can purchase up. But the basics is quite fundamental and will help you to get and keep all of your financials in order. So that's your balance sheet and your income statement, your cash flow. It will help you reconcile your bank statements. I'm telling you, if you don't have a system, an accounting software program in your business, you want to come and take this training for QuickBooks. QuickBooks is one of the cheaper softwares, but that give you so much for the invested value. So if you're a business owner and you're looking for something, an operational system, financial system to manage your business, you want to be a part of these classes at the Cosmopolitan Chamber. Again, they will be scheduled, or they are scheduled for June 18th and 19th, 2014, at the Cosmopolitan Chamber's office, which is 30 East Adams, Suite 1050, downtown Chicago. Thank you again for joining us. And now, with no further ado, I'd like to get to my great guest because we have a lot to talk about tonight. He is Rob Rose. Rob is the Chief Operating Officer for the Chicago Community Loan Fund. Chicago Community Loan Fund. If you've been following the show, one of the early seasons when I started as the host, we had the president from the Chicago Community Loan Fund on, and since that time they've been doing some great things, and they have some new tools, some new financing tools that we're going to talk about. Rob has been with them almost 2 years. Or actually, it's 2 years. March was 2 years, Rob. And you were just recently named as the Chief Operating Officer, so we're glad to have you on.
Glad to be here.
You're from a banking background. You were
Yes.
with Urban Partnership Bank, which is located in the communities, quite frankly. And we're very glad that you are at Chicago Community Loan Fund.
I'm glad to be here. Glad to be on the show.
So Chicago Community Loan Fund, CCLF is what we call it, is a financing operation It's a non-profit organization that help to provide financing for economic development projects.
Correct.
And I want to talk about when we say economic development, that's such a broad,
Yes. Yes.
encompassed subject. It's
Right.
not even just a title. It's a subject that includes quite many things.
Sure.
So what does economic development means to the Chicago Community Loan Fund?
Sure. So for the Chicago Community Loan Fund, we measure, or economic development means many things to us. Job creation, I think, is number one. Right now, in the low and moderate income communities that we serve, job creation is something that's key, and we're really looking to help to finance initiatives and organizations that will lead to job creation.
Yeah.
We also look at units of housing, affordable housing. If you look, job creation and affordable housing go hand in hand in terms of how you help communities thrive, right? And that's our tagline, building communities that thrive. And being able to do that, we need to, in fact, job creation, affordable housing, but we also look to support community organizations with facility space. And then most recently, we're also looking at the commercial retail space.
Oh, sure.
Because if you think about what makes a community livable,
That's
it
right.
is the holistic. It is the jobs that are in the area, affordable housing in which you live, but you also want community assets, parks,
Absolutely.
and then you need retail centers to serve you.
And those retail centers, along with all the other attributes of a community, help to generate income.
That's
in
correct.
That, and keep that income circulating in the community.
That is absolutely right.
So the Chicago Community Loan Fund operates out of the Cook County, but also the Collier County. So
That's
you're
correct.
operating out of Kane, Will, DuPage, McHenry, and Lake County.
Right. So our name is a little bit of a misnomer. People think that we're just in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
So certainly we're based in Chicago and we do a lot of work here. But we are able to lend in the Collier counties as well. And we've done some good work in the outlying areas.
And Rob, quite frankly, the misnomer to the other counties outside of Cook is that, these other counties do not need economic development. And that's so far from the truth.
Absolutely not the case.
Yeah.
So, right now, there's been a number of studies that have highlighted suburban poverty on the rise and the need to have services and organizations that address that, right?
Yeah, I believe, I'm sorry to cut you off.
Go
We're
ahead.
going to continue with that thought, but I believe we have a caller on the line. Caller, welcome to Cosmo Connect.
Good evening. I have a really serious question. When you're talking about economic development, and you're talking about they got poor area in the suburbs area, and I'm talking about in my area where I live in the Inglewood area, and when you look at the U.S. Department of Labor,
Sure.
just cited this statistic, we got young black men under 25. We have a 92% unemployment rate. When they look towards downtown, okay, we got a sad educational system that don't prepare them for any type of opportunity in places downtown and in business down there.
So let me
Why
ask
we
you,
not
what's
having
your
enough development
question?
where I live?
What's your
We can
question?
bring crime down as well.
Okay.
I understand we got certain challenges, but why is not no economic development being done in the Inglewood area?
Okay, so let's answer that because that's
Sure.
not true.
Sure, that's
because
not true at all.
Inglewood, quite frankly, is one of the areas that is highlighted for all of these targeted initiatives.
Sure.
Now it may be slow coming,
Right.
but Inglewood that's the area that you first hear folks talk about. That's
Sure.
where they want. So let's talk about Inglewood.
Just talk about Inglewood. So, what we do is we fund those organizations and opportunities that help to create these, to create the jobs and the affordable housing. So, we are doing our business with other organizations, right?
Right.
And so, part of what we are looking for are these organizations that have that energy and understand the communities have projects that they want to bring to us.
Sure.
So whether it's a community center, whether it's housing, whether it's retail, as those ideas are brought forth, we are looking to impact that. More specifically in Inglewood, one of the groups that we do fund is a group called Growing Home. right?
Growing Homes.
And
So, caller, I want you to check out Growing Homes right there in your neighborhood. Let's
Right.
talk about what's happening.
So what happens with Growing Home? Growing Home is an urban agriculture group, right? They're taking land that, frankly, by the viaduct right
Yes.
there on Wood Street that wouldn't be good use for housing or anything else, right? And they're taking it and they turn it into farmland.
Sure.
The crops that are produced are sold to the neighborhood, right? But what's more important about this organization is that they use the farming as a tool for training the hard to employ,
Sure.
right? So those that are homeless, recovering drug
Sure,
addicts, high school
sure.
dropouts,
Absolutely.
they're able to gain life skills through agriculture
Right.
by being able to learn this craft through growing home.
And we hear a lot about the urban farming.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The Inglewood, I'm very glad to hear that it is in Inglewood or starting in Inglewood. And it's not the first that I've heard about the urban farming in Inglewood.
Mm.
But to the point I'm trying to make is that Inglewood, for quite some time, had been considered one of the food desert areas.
Sure, sure.
And so, although there are grocers, but they're not grocers that are selling or retailing
Sure.
quality
Sure.
food,
Sure.
vegetables and so forth. And so that urban farm
Sure.
is also supposed to help with that plight.
Sure, and Inglewood has a pretty rich urban agriculture group going right now.
Mm. Yes.
That is meeting on a regular basis to think about how it is able to harness the energy
Yes.
around this
And
in
use the
Inglewood.
people right there in Inglewood.
Right.
I believe we have another caller. Caller, welcome to Cosmo Connect. Thank you. Do you have a question?
I do. How are you?
Good. Thank you for calling in. Our guest tonight is Rob Rose, who is the Chief Operating Officer of Chicago Community Loan Fund.
Cool. Well, first of all, I would like to say how you doing, Kay. This is Trey and Cole. It's good to see you.
Nice to see you too, Trig. And I hope
Yeah. And I'd like to know, what do they plan to do with the Pullman?
Oh, sorry, but I know where you were going with that question. Okay, so the Pullman area, which a lot of work has projects, economic development projects,
Right.
by the way of the aldermen there, who Trig, you and I have grown up with,
Right.
have put forth some efforts and advocated for. So,
Sure.
for instance, the big box is going up
Right.
in the area,
Right.
and some other economic development. Are there any projects that Chicago Community Loan Fund is working on in the Pullman area?
Right. So we're working hand in hand with Chicago Neighborhood Initiatives, CNI, headed by Dave Doig and his group, and they've been doing a lot of work around housing and economic development in that area.
Yeah,
right?
because there's supposed to be new housing coming with. But before we take the next caller, this is a hot topic tonight.
Yes.
Chicago Community Loan Fund. I want to share with you the mission. The mission of the Chicago Community Loan Fund is to provide flexible, affordable, and reasonable financing and technical assistance for community stabilization, which is very key for our communities, and development areas and initiative that benefit low to moderate income neighborhoods, families, individuals throughout the metropolitan Chicago. So with that mission, folks, starting there with the mission of what CCLF, its purpose, its existence is to help our communities and help revitalize
Right.
once very thriving areas.
Right.
Let's go to the next caller.
But I do want to make a point, though.
Okay.
No, so what we are is we are a capital source. We help to provide the capital to these groups.
Which is critical.
Which is
because
critical.
the groups without funding,
Right, right,
without those soft dollars up front,
right.
can't start many of these projects.
This is true. But the point that I wanted to make is, but we do it in collaboration and in partnership with the neighborhood groups.
Yes.
So the way it works is neighborhood groups have an idea and they really have a vision for what they want to see. They bring that to us and we help to fund that idea. So it is a partnership. So we ourselves aren't the developers
you're not
of
and
the creators of the idea.
right.
But as those ideas bubble, we are there to help finance those ideas.
And truly, you are the critical piece to that whole puzzle, because
Sure.
we know that that's where the greatest need is,
Yes.
with capital and financing. We have another caller. Thank you for calling in to Cosmo Connect.
God bless y'all for what y'all doing.
Thank you.
I just graduated from security guard school right on 109th and Weston.
Okay.
And I'm trying to get myself together, got a little boy, and they sent me around to low-income stuff, gave me the paper and everything. Everywhere I go, ain't no affordable housing. I don't make enough. I'm just going back to work.
Okay, so your question then to our guest, Mr. Rob Rose, is, does he know of any affordable housing
Right.
projects
In the
that
Roland area.
in the what area is that?
Roland area.
Okay, so we're going to respond to that. So
Okay.
that's another great area
Sure.
that was once heavily thriving. I mean,
Right.
that Michigan Avenue was an economic mecca. It had,
Sure.
big stores.
Sure.
And so now,
Sure.
again, with quite many of the pastors and the organizations that's there, Greater Roseland. I mean, so any projects that you know about in
Sure.
the Roseland area?
Sure. So one of the groups that we have been working with is a group called Churches United CDC.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so these are 4 churches that are located in 4 corners there, and they are looking to do some neighborhood revitalization right around the churches, right around the
Yes.
areas, right?
Yes.
And so we've been working with them to help them to get the financing necessary to purchase and rehab those houses.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what we're running into is they're trying to get foreclosed properties, and that's a process to receive foreclosed properties.
Sure.
But as they're able to do so, we'll be able to finance the purchase and rehab of those properties. Those properties will then be affordable to residents in that area.
Before we take the next caller, I just want to make another point, something you said just shortly ago. The organizations in your community have to reach out to the Chicago Community Loan Fund with their ideas, with their concepts, with their plan for revitalizing, with the projects. They partner with these nonprofit organizations. There are some for-profit organizations that are doing development that they also partner with. But if you have organizations that you are involved with in your communities, wherever those communities are, and you feel that there's economic development needed, pitch your business plan, your idea to the Chicago Community Loan Fund. That's what they're here for. So again, they don't initiate the projects. They're waiting for you to bring the ideas to them so that they could see in what way can they loan capital. And before we expand on that, because we're going to talk about the criteria
Sure.
of how you lend, let's take the next caller. Caller, thank you for calling in to Cosmo Connect.
Yes, my question is, what kind of customers do you target?
Yeah, very good. So what's your demographic?
Sure. So we work with organizations, both nonprofit and for-profit organizations. What we like to say is mission-focused for-profit organizations, right? And we really have, the 3 buckets that we're really aiming for, right? Affordable housing, social service, and economic development. Economic development for us, again, leading to job creation.
That's right.
And in those organizations that have programs that will enable that job creation. Local hiring, right? And that's what's key. To make sure that they're not only creating jobs, but creating jobs for the people in the community. Those are the projects that we are looking to help finance.
And that's important. That goes back to one of the earlier calls to saying, in my neighborhood, I can't find jobs. Well, one thing you know for sure is just attested here is that CCLF work on projects that will demonstrate how they will create jobs. And again, hire people that are right there in the community. Let's talk about some of the products, of CCLF, Chicago Community Loan Fund,
Sure.
and talk about the type of clients under these lending products and lending tools. I'm
Sure.
going to go to our overhead and put them on the screen. So here are 3 of many products that are available through the
Sure.
Chicago Community Loan. So our first one, Small Contractors Bridge Program.
Right. So, we just wanted to highlight some of the things that we do. The Small Contractors Bridge Program is a program that allows us to provide both working capital and bonding for small contractors, in particular, minority and women-owned businesses that are looking to bid and work on public works contracts. So if you're looking to get a contract with the city, the county, the state,
Yep.
Our program will work with you to provide both the working capital and the bonding, both the bid and payment and performance bonds through this program.
Oh, that's excellent, because so many of those public work projects, you have to be able to be bonded at a certain level
Right.
before you're considered
That's
for those
correct.
projects.
And our program works on a pre-qualification. So contractors work through us to get pre-qualified for a bid bond line, right? And then are able to bid on different jobs. And then once they're awarded a bid, if they're awarded a bid, then we would issue the working capital loan and the payment of performance bond in to respond to that contract.
Okay, and folks, the first lending product that you see on the screen, that actually speaks to for-profit businesses.
That's all for-profit,
Right.
small contractors, right? These are construction, so this product does not apply to the service piece of construction. So the
Yes.
engineering firms and architectural
Oh,
firms,
sure, the
right?
professional
Right.
services.
It is for the construction trades
Yep.
that require bonding.
For the trade services. Okay, Neighborhood Investor Lending Program.
Right. This is a program that we came up with last year to provide investors, neighborhood organizations, and developers the opportunity to purchase and rehab 1 to 4 unit buildings, right? To provide those funds. As we looked at the landscape of available funding, the 1 to 4 unit space for non-owner occupied investors had the most difficulty securing capital.
Wow.
Right, and so
Wow.
we have stepped in, and now we're also working in concert or in conjunction with CIC, Community Investment Corporation. We have a product that will finance the purchase and rehab. They have a product that also will do the takeout.
Okay, and then the final that's listed here, Commercial Retail Initiative. Let's
Yes.
talk about this one.
So this is less of a program and more of a shift in focus for us.
Sure.
For the first 20 years or so, we were primarily a housing and community facilities shop. And now we are also expanded our suite of products to the commercial retail space,
Yeah.
right? So, for example, at 85th and Cottage, right, there is now an Advanced Auto Parts store that was once in a blighted building.
Sure.
We helped to finance the demolition and the build of that new store, right? That new store is providing a commercial retail need in the Chatham neighborhood, but also created 10 local jobs. Every employee from that that's at that store lives within a 2-mile radius of the store.
So again, to make the distinction here, we're talking about lending financing, capital financing, not grants.
I want to say that we don't make grants and we don't lend to individuals. So we're not doing consumer financing, we're not doing home financing or payday type financing.
Sure.
We make loans to corporations, both for-profit and nonprofit, that have projects that will impact low to moderate income communities in Chicago.
How long has Chicago Community Loan Fund been in existence?
Right. We've been around since 1991. And in some ways we feel like the world's best kept secret.
Yeah.
And part of the motivation for being here today is to make sure that people know that we're here
Right.
and that we're a resource. But we've grown from a modest $200,000 investment to now just over $50 million in assets. So we're a small fund, but we're growing both in impact and in loan volume.
I believe we have another caller. You're hot tonight. Thank you for calling in to Cosmo Connect. You're on with Rob Rose from the Chicago Community Loan Fund.
Yes, my question is, how does CCLF differ from a bank?
Okay.
Very good question. Thank you for calling in.
Great
That's a
question.
good- yeah.
So there's one major distinction. We are not a depository institution.
Right.
You're not allowed to deposit money with CCLF. We gather investments from corporations, organizations, foundations, and individuals. Individuals can invest in us, but it's not a deposit, and we don't offer banking services. We are a CDFI. That's a federal designation that stands for Community Development Financial Institution, and we're a loan fund under that designation. So again, just to recap, the big difference is we're not a depository institution, and we don't offer those banking services to individuals. But individuals are able to invest in the loan fund, and we want to mention that we do have 72 individual investors in the loan fund.
Sure.
Along with corporations and foundations that also invest in us.
So let me ask you too, and to expound on that question, what are your rate structure like? How do you compare with the traditional financial institutions?
Well, I can tell you, right, well, in terms of an investment, the investors, that we are doing better than CDs.
No, I don't care
Okay.
about the investors.
Okay.
But for all you folks with money, I'm sure that's a great point for you. But I'm talking about the folks that actually need the financing.
Okay.
What are the debt terms for them? What are
Okay.
they?
Well, it depends on all the different
But how do you
products that we
compare
have.
with
So
the-
we're more flexible, right? So we pride ourselves in our flexibility. That's really the hallmark of the Chicago Community Loan Fund. So our products, as compared to traditional bank financing, we're going to have a higher loan to value that we'll allow, or we'll have loan terms that are more favorable.
Okay.
An amortization schedule, we typically can go up to 30 years as
Okay.
required.
Okay.
Right, and then we're what's called patient capital, right? One of the things that we offer is pre-development and early stage financing, and this is the financing that's needed for a project as it's just starting to come together, even before construction. So
Okay.
this is all the architecture plans,
Yeah.
the permitting,
Yeah.
land acquisition,
Yeah.
and so with that, we have a flexible financing around enabling these projects to begin.
I want to appeal to our viewers that, again, if you're working with a not-for-profit or social service agency, an economic development group in your local community, here's information you need to share with them. The Chicago Community Loan Fund is a stop where they should make very early in the planning stage of creating something new right there in the community. Again, as our guest mentioned, that they are a well-kept secret, which to me pretty much announced that folks don't know that they're even out there and that they have the resources. And one of the key, Rob, is that I would suspect that requirements are a little more lenient than going into traditional financing.
I will say yes. I think our credit box is probably not as stringent as traditional banks, but I do want to emphasize that one of the key things that we're looking for when we are evaluating projects is we really want to make sure that we've got a viable project on our hands, and we want to make sure that we have the right team involved, right?
Sure.
Because as we are looking and evaluating plans, we want to make sure that it passed what we call the but-for test, right?
Yep.
But for the capital,
Yep.
this wouldn't be possible. We want to make sure that you've got the right team, the right project, the right community support, the right concept, and then we're able to provide that capital as we are looking at these type of projects.
A lot of the nomenclature that you use sounds very governmental. No, CCLF, was it established through
No.
No?
This is a group of socially responsible individuals that came
Wow.
together and just recognized there was a need for this type of
Indeed.
financing arm in Chicago.
Okay, before we close the show, it always goes so quickly, folks. I'm telling you, it's such great information, and we have so much more to talk about because we can actually delve into some of these lending products and tools. I just share with us really quick one or two of your highlight projects that
Sure.
CCL worked on that people would recognize.
Sure. So I mentioned the Advanced Auto Parts at 85th and Cottage. Currently, we're working with local artist Theaster Gates on his project
Oh,
at
sure.
68th and Stony, the Stony Bank,
Yeah.
the Stony Island Bank
And that's
building.
an artist that, renowned,
Yes,
that
yes.
mainstream wants so bad, and he's bringing his stuff back to the community.
Yeah, that's correct. And had a difficult time finding financing for that project, right? And we were able to provide the construction financing for that.
Well, folks, before we close the show, I just want to give you information on how to contact the Chicago Community Loan Fund. It's listed right there. The email address, info@cclfchicago.org, or call them at 312-252-0440 and extension 101. But you need to get in touch with them. Again, a great organization that have money that's available. You guys have ideas for your community, please tap the Chicago Community Loan Fund. I have a feeling that they're looking for more great people like you to help revitalize these communities that need it.
That's it. It takes a village, right?
Indeed.
And so we are part of that village. We have capital to lend to the project, but we're looking for those great ideas and those organizations with energy, focus, and political will to help make these projects work.
Great show. Thank you for being our guest tonight,
Thank you for
Rob.
having me.
We'll have to have you back on again.
Yes, ma'am.
And thank you for viewing tonight. Again, next Tuesday is another great show you won't want to miss. So make sure you tune in. Thank you and have a good evening.